David Solomon will be sole president and COO of Goldman Sachs. Harvey Schwartz, the firm's president and co-chief operating officer, has decided to retire effective April 20. Looking through the release here, guys, quote from Blankfein: Harvey's work ethic, command of complexity, and client focus have defined his career at the firm. His influence has made an indelible impact on generations of professionals at Goldman Sachs. I want to thank Harvey for all he's done for the firm. David, some thoughts on Schwartz's imminent exit and Solomon's rise?
I think we know who the next potential CEO of this company is going to be.
I have pretty good, Carl, that Larry Kudlow is now the leading contender for the job to replace Gary Cohn. The leading contender. Now, Larry and I were partners for a very long time at CNBC for Kudlow and Kramer. I think that if he was offered it, he would take it. This is a very big deal. That obviously nothing's been decided, but he's spoken to the president and he wants the job. A lot of this is because he has softened his stance on China. You know that he is against tariffs. I think the president believes that the market would really like this because it shows the flexibility that he's looking for.
Our story of the morning, it's political, it's business, it's so much more. President Trump prohibiting Broadcom's proposed buyout of Qualcomm on national security grounds. Eamon Javers joins us this morning in Washington, D.C. Eamon.
Yeah, good morning, Andrew. You've heard of it. It's the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, otherwise known by the acronym CFIUS. CFIUS taking steps yesterday to block that deal of Broadcom acquiring Qualcomm, a U.S. company. Remember, Broadcom, headquartered in Singapore, had said that it was going to move its headquarters to the United States. And there's Hock Tan, the CEO of Broadcom, meeting with the president back in November, at that time announcing the headquarters move was coming, saying that the environment for business in the United States was terrific thanks to Trump's presidency. And the president signaled that he was in favor of that move. Here's what he said at the time.
We're thrilled to welcome Broadcom Limited and its CEO, Hock Tan, to the White House to announce that Broadcom Limited is moving its headquarters from Singapore back to the United States. So I want to thank you very much. Thank you.
Rex Tillerson out as Secretary of State. Mike Pompeo at the CIA will now head to the State Department. Let's get to Ilan Moy. She has more on this story from Washington. Good morning, Ilan.
Becky, that's exactly right. The news was first reported by the Washington Post, and Trump confirmed it on Twitter, saying, "Congratulations to all." Replacing Mike Pompeo as CIA director, Trump has nominated Gina Haspel, who is currently the deputy director of the CIA. The Post also reporting that President Trump asked Tillerson to step down on Friday while he was on a trip to Africa. Rex Tillerson had cut that trip short, saying that he had some illnesses and wanted to be back in Washington by today. Perhaps we now know the real reason behind that. Now, Secretary of State Tillerson had frequently been seen as out of the loop on some key issues. He said just yesterday that North Korea had not yet directly confirmed that meeting that President Trump said he would take with Kim Jong-un. So Rex Tillerson now out at the State Department, Mike Pompeo of the CIA replacing him, and Gina Haspel, Deputy Director of the CIA, looking to fill Mike Pompeo's shoes.
Ilan Moy has some new comments from Senator Chuck Schumer on Broadcom Qualcomm. Ilan.
That's right, John. Schumer is backing the White House's decision to block the merger of Broadcom and Qualcomm, a very rare point of agreement between Chuck Schumer and President Trump. Schumer saying that China is looking to supplant the U.S.'s dominance in 5G while he was speaking on the Senate floor just a little bit ago.
Let me say unequivocally, President Trump and his administration made the right decision on blocking Broadcom from taking over Qualcomm. We all know that China has been rapacious about trade and very smart. They look for places where they can steal our best technology.
The world is mourning the loss of a great mind this morning. British theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking has passed away. He is best known for his insights on black holes and quantum theory, and his best-selling book, A Brief History of Time, which I was just a description of him saying that he brought very theoretical thoughts and ideas to the masses where it could be understood. I tried to read A Brief History of Time. I maybe read the first 5-10 pages.
I tried.
He was unable to bring it home to me.
But there was another book that he wrote after that that was supposed to be much more accessible.
It's very, I mean, when you think that like time and space are related and wrap around each, I mean, it's not ever going to be that understandable, but it didn't work. It was still hard.
Tie up Newton's laws with quantum theory and find that there was some unifying.
But you know, he had this remarkable life. I know.
And theory of everything.
But no, what I was going to say is, for a guy who basically lived in a wheelchair for,
he was diagnosed at age 21 with ALS, and you're not supposed to live another 50 years.
And you're not supposed to live the life he lived. And I think it's just an amazing. I always found him inspiring.
Absolutely.
In so many ways.
A United Airlines passenger suffered the death of her dog on board a flight from Houston to New York on Monday night. Other passengers reported that a flight attendant told the owner to put the dog in the overhead storage compartment. The airline has accepted responsibility for the dog's death.
I just hung up the phone with Larry Kudlow a few moments ago. He told me he was honored to accept the job. He told me he's spoken to the president about 4 times this week, including last night and again today. He told a very funny story, which I think you've just heard, about being called at dinner at Cipriani last night and then jumping in an Uber and talking to the president during the entire course of his Uber ride, and the Uber driver being shocked that the guy was on the phone with the president. But he also said something that I think is important and hits at that tension that you guys were just talking about Larry disagreeing with the president on tariffs. Larry said that he understands the president's position on tariffs, and the president understands his position on tariffs. And he said that ultimately, as National Economic Council director, he said, once the decision is made, it's made. I understand that. He said, I might not agree with every crossed T and dotted I, but then it no longer matters. Our job at the National Economic Council is to execute the policy, not to continually hold meetings and not to rehash this to death, but simply to execute.
The Senate has approved legislation to roll back DoddFrank banking rules. Lawmakers voted 67-31 to pass the bill, which would allow smaller banks to avoid stress tests, focus more on community lending, also exempts firms with less than $10 billion assets from the Volcker rule. Opponents of the bill say it could risk another financial crisis. It goes to the House now for consideration, guys, but it did bring some members of the centrist Democratic caucus to make this thing happen.
Along with it, yeah, some of the smaller, as you say, the mid-sized banks have certainly been complaining about what they felt was more onerous regulation than deserved given their size.
Family farm, small business, community bank, love, 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 right? I mean, there's like, I pledge allegiance to family farm, small business, community bank. Let's understand each other. What's going on here? The president has pretty much instructed, stop bringing cases against the big banks, okay? I don't care what the regular, you can roll them back. You can keep them. No more cases. And there is no business, no legal business being done against any of these banks. All the cases are over. And the way that you change is not just to roll back regulation, but to stop enforcing regulation.
The New York Times just posted a story moments ago saying that special counsel Robert Mueller has subpoenaed the Trump Organization requesting documents, including documents relating to Russia. Now, the Times is saying that it's not clear the entire breadth of the subpoena request to the Trump Organization, but it's significant because this is the first known demand of documents from the Trump Organization related to Russia, and it indicates that we could be entering a new phase of the Mueller investigation. We're also not sure from the Times' reporting of exactly when this subpoena was issued. The Times saying simply that it was issued in recent weeks.
Miami-Dade police are holding a briefing on the bridge collapse. Let's listen in.
Rescue technicians on the scene. We have our technical rescue technicians on the scene. We also have live search dogs working the power right now. We have all of the heavy equipment we might need. We have as many as 4 cranes and crane operators. So we're in a full search and rescue mode, and we'll give you more information as it becomes available. We have multiple victims. The number hasn't been determined yet. The final number hasn't been determined yet, and we'll give you more information on that. And Fire Rescue is going to follow me with some more details. Thank you.
The White House is rebuffing reports that President Trump has decided to remove National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster. Eamon Javers joins us. And I just, in Washington speak, Eamon, how long is the half-life of a denial? So if you say that it's not going to happen, does it mean today, but it could happen Monday, and they're not dissembling, or do you know? Is it a week? How long does it have to be?
It's a lot shorter than it used to be. Let's put it that way, Joe. I mean,
so they could be telling the truth, but he could be gone next week.
Right. I mean, NBC reported that H.R. McMaster was on the way out a couple of weeks ago, I believe it was. So there's been speculation about H.R. McMaster for a while now, but today is another Friday where Washington wakes up expecting that somebody prominent at the White House could be fired today. The speculation centering this morning on H.R. McMaster. Take a look at what the New York Times wrote in its coverage of this last night. The New York Times is reporting that McMaster could be on his way out, saying one person close to the president said General McMaster, whom officials have described as never having clicked with the president personally, could be replaced as early as Friday. Now, after some of that reporting last night started to hit the internet, Sarah Huckabee Sanders said she checked in with the president. Here's what she put on Twitter, saying, I just spoke to the president and General H.R. McMaster. Contrary to reports, they have a good working relationship and there are no changes at the National Security Council. There is a long list of officials who are said to be on thin ice, including the Chief of Staff himself, John Kelly, H.R. McMaster, David Shulkin over at the Veterans Affairs Administration, Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, Ben Carson over at HUD is somebody who could be on the chopping block as well, including a number of internal staffers. And we saw this week the president firing his Secretary of State on Twitter. Also, the president's body man, John McEntee, ushered out of the White House complex earlier this week reports of some kind of misdeeds associating with John McEntee. He's the person closest physically to the president all day long. So it's been a tumultuous week already at the White House and could be more today.
Nike will be one to pay attention to as their brand president, Trevor Edwards, says he'll resign, 27-year vet.
Yeah, I guess that had to happen ahead of when they report. They report next week. And Trevor, I don't know the gentleman, but I've got to tell you, on the conference call, I always think he's the star. He's been the keeper of the Jordan brand. Which, of course, obviously is just something that makes money. Michael Jordan is better known in China than anybody. I mean, it's amazing how well the Jordans sell in China. But this man was the keeper of it. This man was in charge of the digital experience, which really made Nike get back in the game, I felt. I regarded him as the expert in social media. Nike is now doing that. Personalization. And a champion for performance, for athletic performance shoes, which, by the way, for a while, people thought they had lost that edge. This is a big loss. This guy is fabulous. And anybody who listens to the Nike conference calls always hangs on this man's every word. This is a big loss for Nike. Big loss for Nike.
Reports of the employee memo referencing an internal investigation into behavior. They didn't say whose behavior, according to reports.
Yeah.
But we'll watch that.
Today, the 10-year anniversary of Bear Stearns being forced into the arms of J.P. Morgan. Originally a $2 a share deal. They did get it up a lot. Remember, it went to $10 a share. Little more than 10 years ago, we did have an opportunity to speak to Alan Schwartz during, of course, a tumultuous week for the company in which investors and perhaps even more importantly, counterparties were starting to become very concerned. Take a listen. It's been a hard week for shares of Bear Stearns as the firm has been buffeted by constant rumors of a looming liquidity problem. Bear maintains that its balance sheet, capital positions, all strong. The stock, which rallied yesterday, still down 17% over the last 5 trading sessions. Joining me now first on CNBC is Alan Schwartz. He is Bear Stearns' president and CEO. Mr. Schwartz, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Good morning, David.
Good morning. Let me start off with this broad idea that's been in the market now for a few days and pressuring your stock, namely that counterparty risk is something, new counterparty risk is something that a number of firms on Wall Street no longer want to take in terms of dealing with Bear Stearns. Is that true?
No, it's not true. There's been a lot of volatility in the market, a lot of disruption in the market, and that's causing some pressure administratively on getting some trades settled out, but we're working hard getting that done. We're in a constant dialogue with all of the major dealers and the counterparties in the street, and we are not being made aware of anybody who is not taking our credit as a counterparty.
Guys, $220 billion in at-risk assets, $11 billion in equity. Some people said, well, that interview helped. I mean, come on. This was on a road. Confidence. We kept talking those weeks. Confidence on Wall Street can go away in a heartbeat, and it did. And that's the end of it.
Oh, that's right. I mean, I remember infamously or famously, depending upon I got a caller the next day who said, listen, if my money is in Bear Stearns, am I okay? And the fact is that anyone who's ever done the work that I did at Goldman knows that if you have the insurance, if you have the money, your cash is okay at the account unless you're doing a levered account overseas. But the fact was, somehow it came out that I was recommending Bear Stearns.
I know.
Your money was safe in Bear Stearns. Am I going to say, no, you got to take your money out right now because it's not safe at Bear Stearns? Yes, the stock is great. I mean, no. I mean, obviously the stock was falling apart. But the question was there a way to be able to stem it? And these are famous instances about if you talk about it, are you dead? Should he have come on? Well, it didn't really matter because we could have been talking about Washington Mutual, we could talk about Lehman. I got a dozen firms I could be talking about right now.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.